Grab your cup of coffee. Sit down for a story. Let's all go exploring. Making it after 40. Making it after 40. Making it after 40.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the Making It After 40 podcast. I am your host, Lisa Rodriguez. I am an actor and writer who is still trying to make it after the age of 40. On this show, we explore what it means to be an artist trying to make it as a middle-aged person. This week, my guest is Ilana Cohn. Ilana is an actress, writer, director, and producer. Ilana got her start in entertainment via sketch comedy and found success with YouTube videos that she and her husband and their group of friends would create. All this led to writing jobs at various outlets and networks. Ilana and I chat about the ups and downs of this business, how nothing is ever guaranteed, and being brave enough to know when your practice focus might need to shift. Ilana is funny and insightful, and I thoroughly enjoyed getting to know her. So please take a moment to listen to our conversation. So, hi, Ilana. It's really nice to meet you.
You too. Thanks for having me, Lisa.
Yeah, thank you for being interested in being on the show. There's so many awesome people in our little moms group, and so many of them, I know just from comments and posts and stuff like that, but then I don't know anything about what they do. And so I was super excited when you reached out and said that you wanted to be on the podcast.
Yeah.
I
love to talk. I love meeting other moms in the hustle.
Yeah.
So,
because that's exactly what it is. It's such a hustle.
Yeah.
So Ilana is an actress, writer, producer, director. I was looking at your IMDb and looking at your website, and you have so many exciting, cool projects that you've worked on. I went into your YouTube and was looking at the stuff you did 10 years ago. It looks like, that was really silly, really fun. Yeah. Yeah. So, I'd love to hear about your journey, about how you got to where you're at now. And then also because your career has evolved so much, it definitely, from what I could see on the website and on paper, it seemed like it was very much you're out here acting, and then, you had the baby, and then I'm sure that was a new challenge, and
definitely.
And things evolve. So I'd love to hear how that has been for you.
First, I'm going to apologize in advance for any screaming children that you hear in the background. There is an adult watching them, but one of them is 3, and, he's just going to make his own way, and it might be in here screaming. So,
that's fine.
So that's my disclaimer, my child disclaimer. So I have a strange, I loved theater and acting when I was young, but then I sort of had to choose between acting and sports in high school, just timing wise. And my friends mostly played sports, because I did both when I was younger. And then I had to choose, and I went with sports. And I was always so I would go see the plays, and I was just crestfallen because I was I want to be doing that. I love it. I wish I could do both, but it is such a bummer that there's no, you can't play soccer and do theater in high school, at least not where I was in New Jersey.
Yeah.
But I loved it. And there was a time where I was I think I want to go to school for theater. My mom was absolutely not.
Yeah.
And I found out later that she was a musical theater major in college. And I was what?
Shut up.
Yeah. Isn't that wild? And then became a teacher, and then went into completely has nothing irrelevant to any of that work.
Yeah.
But I sort of danced around. I was what do I want to do? So I was okay, maybe film.
Mm-hmm.
And we were poor. It was just me and my mom and my older brother.
Okay.
And I looked at like kind of film schools, and like Rutgers had a program. Basically, I had to stay in state because everything was very expensive.
Yeah.
I ended
Yeah.
up at a school that had a film program, but it was like we shot our final thesis on like a wind up Bolex. I learned how to like cut and splice in an editing room. Like nobody does that anymore. It's a skill that I don't need, but it was like, it was good to learn. But I went to Rowan and I majored in film. There were, I mean, almost no women in that department,
Yeah.
and almost no one really came out here either, which is I have one friend who basically runs Al Pacino's company.
Oh my gosh.
He
That's cool.
he started as his driver in New York, and then like has gradually over the past 20 years like gotten more and more responsibility, and now he's basically runs his company.
Wow.
And he's great, and we still talk. And then I have one other friend from film school. We like made our final project together. It was like just so dumb. I mean, it's just so
Yeah.
funny to be like, oh, it was like a samurai chef who like was like chopping everything. We had like a gag where he like threw the vegetables in the air and then caught them on swords, and we had to
Yeah.
like rig a thing where you like pull them off with string,
Yeah.
And he was like an EP on The Voice and
Oh my
all those
gosh.
shows. So that's really all that I know from.
I was gonna say, I wonder. So one of my cousins is like the head. What do they call him? I can't remember. He does all the set construction on The Voice. He's like the
Oh,
head guy, and he's been doing it for years and years and years and years. So I bet he knows your friend.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
His name's Mike Yurchuk. Really nice guy. But yeah, so when I moved here, I mean, I know those guys now and they're like big deals now, but I didn't have any connections. I didn't know anybody. I had one friend. I studied abroad in Israel for a year, and I had one friend out here who is still my best friend.
Yeah.
And she, like very much the reason I stayed, because I was like, what am I doing here? And I quickly like when I got here, I started doing improv at Improv Olympic,
Oh. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and I loved it. I was like, what is
Yeah.
this? This is all for me. I'm so in. And I did like the internship for classes. So I was there basically all the time.
Yeah. That became your
And
life.
yes, completely. And I was on a house team, and I was like rehearsing multiple times a week and working there and just there when I, just like live there. And at some point while I was there, I remember talking to my mom being like, Mom, I think I really want to pursue acting. And I remember she like cried on the phone. She denies it. And I'm like,
Oh.
I 100% remember, because she's never like cries about anything ever. And I was like, okay, I need to figure out a way to like make this legitimate. So I'm going to apply to grad school. So I only apply. I do not have a theater background.
Yeah.
At this point, I've been doing improv for like a year. And I apply to Yale, Juilliard, NYU, and some like
Oh my
Shakespearean
gosh.
program in Delaware. Like this very prestigious Shakespeare company. And I was like, okay, this is what I'm doing. So I get my friends, Neil Flynn, who was one of my coaches at the time, who was
Uh-huh.
the janitor on Scrubs.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He was very much
Mhm.
at iOS. Yeah.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
like lived there too. So
Yeah.
he and Kate Flannery, who was Meredith on The
Yeah.
Office,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
were my
Another
coaches.
iOSer.
hmm And they helped me like learn my monologues and work on my Shakespeare.
That's awesome.
It's ridiculous. And I went up to San Francisco where the auditions were, because I don't come to LA. And I needed a comedic monologue too. And Kate gave me this play that Jill, now Joey Soloway, and
Oh yeah.
his sister wrote, called The Miss Vagina Pageant. And I did this like very inappropriate, ridiculous monologue. That is basically like a Staten Island Jew talking about her hero, who is Harriet Tubman. And she performs as Harriet Tubman.
Oh my God.
Like but like with
Yeah.
her Staten Island voice. And it's ridiculous. And and totally not the right vibe for any of those schools.
Yeah.
And I had to do the Juilliard audition, like all the people like audit, and the other like students were laughing, and the professors were just like mad dogging me. I mean, like
Yeah.
angry, visibly angry with me.
Oh, wow.
And except one of them was laughing, and I was like, okay, he's for me.
Yeah.
And like someone stopped me on the street after the audition. I was like, after that whole experience, I was like, oh, I think I'm meant to do comedy. I don't think Shakespeare's my jam. So after that, I was like, okay, comedy. And I kept like being in the improv world.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working at like a commercial production company. And then I started assisting a director. So as I was like doing improv all the time at night, I was like PAing. I was a director's assistant. Then I was in a camera department. I was like hopping all over,
Yeah.
worked on
Doing it all.
tons. Yeah, and like working on tons of commercials and music videos. And it was like still the kind of exciting time where there were like big budget music videos.
Yeah.
And then basically what happened was my friends started Maker Studios, which was like a company that was within YouTube.
Okay.
And we just all sort of became YouTubers.
Yeah.
Like without really meaning to, like it wasn't
Yeah.
YouTube was created and then we all just were like making sketch videos and they were building this company and they asked my husband and I if we wanted to be a part of it and we were like, no, but we'll like, do stuff with you guys,
Yeah.
but which was dumb because they sold it
Yeah.
for $500 million.
You should have joined it.
Yeah, we lost out. But yeah, we were part of that like world for a long time and like basically made our money doing like digital comedy stuff.
That is so great.
But it was like Wild West. Nobody knew what to do. Nobody
Yeah.
knew what was, it was like a really weird time. And then we had a baby and we were like, oh, we need stability. So he
Yeah.
mostly started editing and I got a job at Nickelodeon writing like original sketch for them.
Yeah.
And then basically was a freelance writer for many years. I still am.
Yeah.
And then got a job at Tastemade, like directing and doing like branded videos and stuff, which is something I still
Okay.
do. I'm, like I said, freelance. But like my whole thing is I feel like I have not yet made it.
Yeah.
Right?
We all feel
So,
that way too. I mean,
we all
yeah.
feel that way. Yes.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm trying now really to move into like TV writing and directing.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
trying to focus more on that. Like I am a SAG actor, but I don't really audition much anymore at all. And I don't really see that as like the way I'm going to make it.
Yeah.
Um,
I can relate.
yeah. I mean, it's a hard road to hoe, man. It is.
It's really interesting. Because I consider myself a professional actor, but I mean, like, I've gotten quite honest on this podcast because I, don't want to be an imposter or whatever, but I still don't have any co-star credits. But like, I mean, I've got tons of training and I do I create my own stuff. And like,
Yeah.
like, and a lot of people say it's like, hey, you're auditioning for professional stuff. You just haven't booked your thing yet. And I think half of that is like, is the right part for you? Has that been written yet? Because I get callbacks and I get, I get things like
Yeah.
that, but it's just like, the right thing hasn't popped up. And if it does, it will. And so, I think I'm kind of in that same place where I'm like, well, maybe acting or, making money from acting isn't going to be my thing. And I've been sort of starting to think about leaning into my writing. And it's funny how that evolves, I think, for people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I am not making any decisions, but I'm just like, well, what are the signs telling me?
Yeah. And it's also like, I don't know, there's something, it's so much more empowering to be a writer than to be an actor in this town. Like you can make your own work for no money. Like, you can't really do that as an actor. I mean, it's
Yeah.
easier now. There's, like, ways to do it really low budget, but, like, ultimately, like, you can't act in a bubble, like,
Yeah.
and for me, the making my own stuff, I get so much more pleasure out of being an actor on a stage than I do, like, making content or, sketch comedy videos or whatever. Like, I enjoy
Yeah.
when I get to work with people and do that stuff. Um, and when people ask me to do stuff, I typically say yes. Um,
Yeah.
and now I feel like I'm just sort of like that with auditioning. Like, I don't have a theatrical agent right now.
Mhm.
And I'm like, if people ask me, people bring me in, I'm like, yes, I do
Yeah.
my thing. But with writing, you can, like, write when you can. There's so many, like, fellowships and things like that and ways to kind of, like, grow
Mhm.
that work. Um, I mean, right now even though I'm, like, technically unemployed and kind of losing my mind, I have a script in development at Universal,
Yeah.
and it's, like, a huge deal, and Michael Schur is on as our EP, who is, like,
That's
a huge deal,
great.
you know?
He's a huge deal.
So
I mean, that's kind of a dream person for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
I'm very
great.
lucky, and hopefully we sell it. My writing partner, Lisa Muse Bryant, she and I worked together at Nickelodeon. Like, they paired us basically for a pilot for an idea that I had, and she is, like, an amazing story producer, writer, everything, and, that was 10 years ago, and I just stayed in touch with her because I was like, "You're incredible. I really wanna work with you forever."
Yeah.
So, and if that happens, that's, like, a huge career shift.
Yeah.
But I'm also not banking on it. I'm, like, writing
Yeah.
all the other things right now. Now I'm like, "Oh, I gotta have a bunch of other stuff ready to go," you know?
But sometimes all it takes is that one story or that one
Mhm.
script to, like, really get you in there, and, I mean, you also have all this experience and credits from working at Nickelodeon and all the other stuff that you've written freelance on your own, so you have the resume to support
Yeah.
this big jump, and I think that's an important thing that you have to build, and, yeah, it sounds like you've built all that. You've built
Yeah.
a foundation, even though you haven't, like, maybe what one might considered making it, you feel like you haven't felt like you've made it, but you do have some foundation and some history there.
Yes, and I mean, that's what everybody jokes, like, um, the overnight success. You're like, "Yeah, 50 years old and overnight success."
Yeah.
I've been working for 30 years, but now people know who I am, like, I forget who it was whose Oscar speech, like, Judi Dench or somebody was like,
Yeah.
"Overnight." I can't remember who it was now, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but yeah, it's
Yeah,
like we've been doing this forever. It's like when one thing hits big and then it can kind of all go away again, like, it's like
yeah.
yeah.
And that's the tricky part about this industry is that you just never know when it's all gonna go away. I'm sure, like, even the Mike Shores of the world feel like it's all gonna go away. I was listening, I can't remember, what's the top 5 podcast? Is it Variety? Deadline?
Okay.
Yeah, with Leslie Goldberg and,
Mhm.
Dan doesn't matter,
Herman? No.
Lisa. Yeah. Anyway, so they go over, like, the news of the industry, and they were talking about, like, there was even a recent show that Mike Shore was producing that was, like, supposed to go, and then it gets dropped. So, you just never know. You never know
Yep.
what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So, with the stability, like, how did you find that transition from being freelance to having that stability at Nickelodeon? Well, it doesn't have to be just Nickelodeon. Did you enjoy having the stability in general?
Yeah, I mean, the truth is I still don't have stability. I mean, I was at Nickelodeon for, like, a good run, but it was always like, "Is this gonna keep going?" Like, there
Yeah.
were times where they would, like, shuffle the room around and everyone would kind of get fired, and I managed to, like, keep coming back and was very grateful every time that I didn't. I mean, not that they were firing people, but they were like, "Oh, we wanna try new people," and, like, I got very lucky and, the EP just kept kept bringing me back and from there, then I had, like, a really bizarre writing job. It was like I can't remember if it was for Animal Planet or it was, like, a channel like Animal Planet,
Mhm.
um, but it was basically like I wrote a script a week. It was an animal clip show,
Okay.
for my, uh, old writing partner, Tyler Spears. He and I had an animated show together, and I had like Tolly was little, my daughter at home, and I got to just like bang out a script a week, but it was stressful because it was like,
Yeah.
I had minimal time and just I got a lot faster at it. It was very formulaic and like kind of soul crushing, but it was great for the writing, like those kind of
Yeah.
things. It's like, make this less funny. This has to be like a pun or, like that's my son. I
Yeah.
know him. Now he's crying outside. I should probably just let him
Oh,
come in and talk for a minute and then
yeah. If you need
um,
to, go for it. That's fine.
you can always pause it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me do
Yeah. Go for it. Little dude.
little dude. A
Yeah.
lot of needs.
I have a
Um,
3-year-old too.
you do. Yes, so
Hmm. Yeah, I
That's
get it. I totally get it.
I know my husband's usually home and then he had a last minute thing. He's doing like a talk at USC and
Oh, that's
we're like
cool.
I was like, I can't reschedule. I already had to flake once by mistake. But
Oh,
anyway,
wow. My next question was going to be is like, how have you found that your voice has kind of changed as you've become a parent? And I don't know, has your voice changed much or,
it's funny. I watch some of my old stuff and I'm like,
Mhm.
ooh, like I just really was like, oh, I got to start pulling some of this down. Like some of it I still find funny and some of it I'm just like, ooh,
Yeah.
this feels dated. But I mean, I think I still have a sort of dark and twisted comedic voice. I just
Hmm.
think that it's gotten like a little there's more depth and it's not so like
Mm.
just crass and ridiculous
Yeah.
anymore. I hope. I like to think that anyway. Um but and I think that just comes with like age and experience, but my husband and
Yeah.
I were talking about it cuz I still really like kind of dark, funny uh more not inappropriate, but like I don't know. And he feels like he sort of has come out of it a little bit
Yeah.
more and likes more wholesome humor. And I'm like, I can
Yeah.
I can take it. I'll watch it with our older one, but like I prefer the dark comedy. Like even in
Yeah.
what I'm really enjoying watching versus like what he's watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my husband and I kind of have a similar dynamic. Although I don't know. Like for me, we both enjoy Big Mouth. That's
Mhm.
great. And that's hilarious to
Yeah.
us. We both enjoy The Good Place.
Mhm.
But like for me, he loves It's Always Sunny. And I'm like, yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
But my problem is I get super anxiety ridden when I'm just like, oh God, they're just like making so many bad choices and they're the worst. Same thing with Curb Your Enthusiasm. I'm like,
Mhm.
why is this funny? He's just a jerk. I don't get it.
Yes, yes. Although my husband, I mean, I think because he relates so much to Larry David, he does love Curb, but yeah. I mean, I like all of those, so it's
Yeah.
I guess I don't know that my humor has changed much. I loved, like, I remember seeing when I was, like, 15, someone had, like, a bootleg VHS tape of oh my god, what was it called? It was Trey Parker and Matt Stone's, like, first
Oh,
movie. I still remember some dumb songs from it, and now I'm forgetting what
yeah.
it's called, but it's like, Cannibal the Musical,
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Mhm.
and it like, I just loved it so much. It really blew my mind,
Yeah.
and, like, I had always like Monty Python and, like, I always
Yeah.
loved Saturday Night Live and Living Color, like, I loved sketch, but there was something about, like, just this totally bizarre it was so dumb and so like, I really love dumb humor as much as I, like,
Yeah.
want to say something powerful in my work or whatever, but I'm also like, I really love really stupid something that just makes me laugh?
For me, it was The State.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, The
yeah,
State.
when my friend, because I don't know if we didn't have like cable or what, but one of my friends had a VHS of The State, and like we would watch that, and I was like, "What is this?" And I want to make it too, because
Mhm.
this was like, to me, it was just like so dumb and so funny. And that just like
Mhm.
really like lit a fire in me. Like, I want to be doing this. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I loved the state. There was a moment where, this guy I was dating was best friends with Tom Lennon,
Mm.
and we would just, like, go to his house and basically just do bits, like, the hanging out was just doing bits all night, and I was like, "This is amazing." It was it was a good time.
So, do you and your husband do a lot of work together then? Now, I mean, because I know you did like earlier on. Do you guys still find time to work together or like have creative partnerships?
We don't as much, and it's a real missed opportunity.
Yeah.
We were talking we went out, we had a date the other night, and we were like, "We should do something, like, even if
Mhm.
it's, like, once a month, like a dumb live show at a hole in the wall, like, where we don't tell anybody and it's just locals who show up," like
Yeah.
or a podcast or we're like, we just
Yeah.
missed, like, that playing because I mean, that was our whole foundation. Everything we did was basically work, and it was just sketch stuff.
Yeah.
We met in costume. He was dressed as the teenage character Kelly that he plays, and, um
Oh, your husband is Kelly the Shoes.
yes, he's the shoe
Oh.
king. Yeah, yeah,
Okay, I think that's so funny because when I was looking at some of your stuff, I saw him in a video. I was like, "Oh, that's the shoes guy."
yeah. Yep,
Okay.
yeah.
Now the Leonora connection also makes so much sense. So,
Yes, yes. So he was performing sketch with her husband. I guess she was doing it too for a while,
yeah.
and, yeah. But so he really hit a home run with that Kelly.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, there we go. The Leonora connection. Everybody, if you haven't checked out Mothering Heights, you have to do that.
Yes,
She often
yes.
comes up in this podcast because there's so many connections. And yeah, we love
Yep,
Leonora.
yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so funny you say that about like how you guys go out and have your time and you're like, we got to do something. It seems like every time my husband and I go out and have a date, we always like, okay, this is the list of songs we need to cover. We always like come up with a list of songs and like we never do it. One
That's
day
so
we'll have a
funny.
whole album of songs that we cover, just the two of us. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we like, before we even had kids, we had, like, dumb songs that we sang, and he's like, "We should do a kids album with the kids," and I'm like, "Yeah, we should," but it's hard to make the time to
It's
make that happen.
it is so hard. I think that's the hardest part about getting into middle agehood is when you have children and you're trying to be an
Mhm.
artist, you know. I mean, even just tonight for two of us and last week our missed connection, it's hard with the kids. It's really
Yeah.
hard. I almost had to reschedule tonight because we ended up getting the stomach flu, but I'm
Oh,
fine now. So
no.
it was like one of
Oh,
those kind of 24-hour, 48
yeah.
hour things. So I'm okay now, but like that is the hardest part about making your art and pursuing, I think, when you have children is just finding that time.
Totally, and so our daughter now, I'm guessing our son will too. We were like, "Maybe we'll have Alex P. Keaton be our son and daughter and do our taxes and be financially inclined and maybe be scientists." And like, "No, we have 2 little comedians who are gonna make no money and never." No, they'll have more connections than we do, but, our
Yeah.
daughter already, like, loves making short films, and she's really good at it,
Oh,
and she's a really good actor, and she has made a lot of them.
that's so cool.
She had a story selected for Story Pirates, and then they interviewed her as, like, a filmmaker. It's pretty cute.
Oh
So
my gosh. Does that
so
kind of inspire you a little bit too to like does that get you excited about your own work, seeing what she's doing?
well, it's hard because she's like, "I want an agent, and I wanna audition." I'm like, "Me
Oh,
too, girlfriend," you know?
yeah. Yeah.
So it's hard because it's like, yeah, I mean, part of me is like, I would love to give that to you and be able to put all of my energy into, like, managing your career. However,
Yeah.
I'm still working on mine, and I do think it's important to, like, continue working on my own career and be a person, and
Yeah.
she has time, and she doesn't need to rush into it. She's a
Mhm.
child, and it'll be there for her when she's an adult. Um, and we definitely, like, sign her up for theater and let her do things that
Yeah.
will, like, help grow her and, like, feed her creatively, and we help her make the short films and all that stuff, but, like, as far as really pushing and some people are like, "Do it, she's good and she's beautiful and like, you got your golden goose over there," but I'm like, I also don't want that pressure on her of, like,
Yeah.
it's a lot, it's hard it's a hard the business side is hard, and there's a lot of rejection, and it's like,
Mhm.
there's there's no rush, like, I definitely want her to feel supported, but I don't think it's wise for us to, like, drop everything and make her but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
No, 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 I get it, I get it. I battle with that myself because my older child, he's 13, his problem is he goes in and out of it, like, "Yeah, I
mm,
totally wanna do voiceover, but I don't wanna take classes," or like, "Yeah, I wanna audition. Actually, you know what? I don't wanna audition anymore," and I'm like, "Buddy, I'm not gonna, like, go to bat for you with some agents and then have you decide that you just don't wanna do it
yeah,
anymore. So, like, are
yeah,
you in or not?" I mean, like, if he was fully committed and he's tried it and then decided that he wasn't into it anymore, I'd be like, "Okay, we're done, that's fine."
yeah,
But it's the, like, "Well, I don't really wanna give my time to it, and then I do, and I don't." I'm like, "No.
yeah,
We
because
gotta."
it's a job.
It
Like, it's
is.
not like and you
Yeah.
don't get to pick, she's like, "I wanna be on a show." I'm like, "But you could end up on a awful show."
Mhm.
Like, you don't get to pick your job, you're auditioning.
Yeah.
So, it's also remembering that it is work. It's not just all fun and play, and, like, I'm trying to promote and push the fun and play part because that helps, grow your skill set without the pressure of, like, you being a working actor in the world.
Yeah.
Um,
Something you said about how, like, you're building your own career, that's another thing that I think is, like, super important because you hear so often that, uh, parents who have wanted to have that creative career, they end up putting all their energy into their children, and really maybe they did themselves a disservice if they, because they could have put that energy into their own career. My husband has talked to me about that when I was first gonna try to get an agent for my older child. He's like, "Why are you
mhm.
worrying about him? You need to focus on your career first, buddy. Like, you don't have time for that.
Yeah,
Just do focus on you first."
and it can work, but also we're like I mean, I'm an older parent, and
Mhm.
we're it's a different thing. It made me think about, Kelly and Sydney Park. I don't know if you know
I
who
don't
Kelly
think I
Park
know
is.
them.
She's now a director, but I knew her so 10 years ago.
Yes, I do. She does a
Yeah,
lot of directing for, I think she's done some for Home Economics and,
yes,
The Neighborhood.
yes. So
Yes, I
I
follow her.
knew
I
her
love her.
She's amazing. So I knew her as Sydney Park's mom. So one of the Nickelodeon kids that I worked with a bunch, um, Sydney, who's phenomenal and an incredible actress and person. Kelly is her mother. And at the time, she was not working. She was like, you know, on set with Sydney and doing that. And now she's like a huge
She's
director, and it's
huge.
amazing.
She's directing all the time.
Yeah. So I don't know how. And I mean, I have to say, like, I had multiple conversations with Kelly and with her husband, just of like, how are you guys so cool and down to earth and nice and have created this like incredible, like dedicated, sweet human? Like you got
Yeah.
they're like a I mean, it's almost ridiculous how kind of perfect
Yeah,
that
they're,
family
like,
is.
so cool and interesting and hip, and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and so, it is possible to have both, I guess, too, because Sydney started young, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I think it is possible to have both. It's also a lot of work. Do they only have Sydney or do they have multiple kids?
I believe so. I
I
can't
think Because I was going
Yeah,
to say, I think sometimes when you just have the one, that makes it a little bit easier.
it does.
I know. Well, I only
Yeah.
had one for 9.5 years, and then I
Mhm.
had my second, and it really does add a lot more work having that second kiddo in there. And then
Yes.
dividing your attention between the different needs. You know, I don't know what the age gap is with your kids, but I think any kind of age gap, you know, like there's so much that changes with each year, sometimes every 6 months.
Mhm.
Being there to give the needs to all the different kids it's exhausting sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Having a second child is like having multiple more children.
Yeah.
It does not just feel like having one additional child. It is a big difference, and, mine are 6 years apart, so I feel you
Okay.
on
Yeah.
on that front, but, um so yeah, it is yeah, because if it were just her, I would probably be pushing her more or not pushing her, but, like, letting her kinda pursue that more
Yeah.
because but, like, we still have a preschooler at home, and, like, I
Mhm.
he's the best thing that happened to our family, so I also don't regret it, but, like,
No, yeah.
it changes it, and, like but again, like, she has so much time.
Yeah.
We're in our 40s, and we have so much time, so
Yes. That's the
yeah,
way I see it. I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm only more marketable the more I age. Like now for sure, and I've said this on the podcast before, like there's a number of reasons why I'm in a much better place to find the success that I want, but I think I'm just like wiser, more experience. I don't know, just more comfortable in my own skin.
yeah, I'm also less insane. I
Yeah.
was really I had kind of a traumatic childhood that I had to really work through over the past couple decades,
Uh-huh.
so
Yeah.
I've done a lot of work to be able to be a boss and
Yeah.
and not lose my mind because it's hard. It's hard to be, run a show and all of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And all the connections that you've made over those years of doing all the things, I mean, that's all it's clearly already starting to pay off. Like even if this deal doesn't go somewhere, who's to say that the next one won't make it over that finish line, you know? But I have
totally.
faith. This one is gonna
Thanks.
it's gonna
This
get
is the
there. This is the one.
I know I've got my board with all my other stuff that I'm working on. I'm like, it's in there
How do you
somewhere.
How do you find time to write? Well, I know you're freelance, but still with the kids and the balance. Because even when I was working like more of a freelance schedule, I don't know if I just made up excuses, but I found it hard to find the time to write every day.
Hard. I don't write every day.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what kind of tools do you use?
I'm hoping to develop more discipline around it always,
Yeah.
but I have what's been really helpful is so right before the pandemic, I did like a Ben Axelrod class,
Okay.
and he's great because he does a class in like 8 weeks, and then you have a rough draft of a pilot. And then from that group, 5 of us continue to, like, meet weekly,
Yeah.
and so they've been my little writing support this whole time, and there was a year during the pandemic, I did not write a single fucking thing.
Yeah.
I could not write, I would, like, bring ideas, but I was like, "I've written nothing, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know." I, like, dug up old scripts, I was just like and I mean, what was nice is it's a little bit like a writer's room in that we would send each other stuff so I could do joke pitches on other people's scripts. I could,
Mm.
give other people ideas and notes and whatever. So I was still like working my like writer's room muscle, even though I was writing nothing.
Yeah.
And eventually I dug up a script that I had worked on years before and started working on it again and was excited about it. And then when I talked to Lisa just about like a catch up about what I was doing, she's like, "Oh, I have an overall at Universal and I need to bring ideas and I love this idea. Would you want to do it together?" And I was like, "Yes. Yes,
That's
I would."
awesome.
So I was just really excited to work with her again and like, get to go be on the lot and just like feel like
Yeah.
a writer, even though technically, nothing's moved yet. But like, and then that kind of inspired me to get other stuff done. And since then, I feel like I've been a lot more productive because, I just kind of came back to myself. But it's really hard to self motivate when when there's no real deadline.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like when we're kind of at this stage, it's like you're on the border of always feeling like a fraud.
Yeah.
Like, I know I'm not, but I feel like I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, what is it that you look forward to in your career as you continue to age and grow and become the wise woman that you are?
I mean, I just hope to get bigger and better opportunities. I want to be directing television. I had like right before the pandemic, I was a finalist in the Ryan Murphy half mentorship, and then I haven't shot anything since then. So now I'm like, oh, okay, I
Yeah.
have to shoot something again so I can resubmit, like it's like
Yeah.
playing all the games. But I feel like I'm trying now to kind of shift my attitude around it all and make it like really enjoy the journey, as they say, because that's all we've got right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel that. I think I don't know. I don't know if this is like kind of jumping, but my brain goes back to like having the 3-year-old because we both have 3-year-olds and we're both in our 40s. So I imagine you probably go through this as well, but like feeling sometimes like you're behind
Mhm.
because you're in your 40s and you have a preschooler and then maybe your career isn't where you want it to be.
Yeah.
I do have to do a lot of work personally to kind of shake that feeling like, nope, you're where you are. You can't compare yourself because oftentimes I just feel like, well, everybody else has blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure not everybody else has blah, blah, blah. But
Yeah. Not everybody else has the blah, 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 for
mhm.
sure. But really also it is just like we're on our own timeline and it's okay. And, it was different too 20 years ago. Women didn't have the opportunities in the same
Yes,
way.
I think that's something that I really look forward to with wherever this career is going to take me is that I do feel like middle-aged women have a lot more opportunities now. Whereas I
Mhm.
think even 10 or 15 years ago, we wouldn't be let in the room the way that they're letting middle-aged women in now. And I don't know if that's because of the Tina Feys of the world who kind of like paved that path, or I don't know, people started listening to women a little bit more. But
Yeah, and we have life experience and we can write shows about motherhood and things that, you can't in your 20s. So,
yeah.
yeah.
And those Gen Xers and those millennials that all the companies used to cater to are like they're like, "Oh, they're the ones with the money." Well, guess what? We're still the ones with the money. Some of
Mhm.
us. But
Yeah,
we're still like I think women are like the biggest deciders for like purchases in their homes now. And like
right.
and they often are guiding the media in their homes too,
Mhm.
what their families are watching or like what we're going to buy the kids. I think a lot of men are now like listening, a lot of husbands are listening to wives, and so yes, they're finally listening to us.
Right.
The media
Yeah.
companies.
I know it's not the 1950s anymore. We're just in the
No.
kitchen, barefoot on Valium.
Yeah. Okay, well, I always ask my guests 2 questions. So the first question I always ask is, what advice do you have for anyone who's coming up now, or maybe somebody who's looking to change careers um, at in their middle age?
I mean, I think life's too short. You gotta just do it. If you're doing something that is not fulfilling, there's always something you can offer. I have a ER nurse friend who I love. She's one of my closest friends, and she recently started writing novels.
That's
And
so cool.
yeah, and she's, like, entered some fellowships and is doing well, and I'm like, "You're gonna fucking kick ass at this because you have all of this bizarre ER knowledge, and you love crappy romances." Like, you read it and take that like, you can go and be a powerhouse in a totally different field, and it's so exciting to me, um, and she's like, I don't know what I'm doing," like, but she
Yeah.
does, and she's learning, and, like, she's so smart that she's gonna I think it is always the smart move to at least, like, pick it up as a hobby if there's something that you're, like, itching for, you know?
Yeah.
Um, at the very least. And then if it turns into something more, then you pursue it. But yeah, do the thing you love.
That's so cool. What a great story that is.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then the other question I always ask is what do you consider making it now versus when you were younger?
I mean, it's funny because if I looked at where I am now,
Mm-hmm.
when I was younger, I'd be like, oh, you made it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the finish line continues to move. And I really don't know that anyone ever feels, at the very top, I've had conversations with the most powerful people in their fields. And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
imposter syndrome never goes away, it's like,
Yeah.
it's real. And I think for me, like if I'm going to define like success and making it, it's like being able to feel comfortable in
Mm-hmm.
my career, like whether it's thriving or at a valley, because inevitably this business is like up and down constantly. It's just part of it.
Yeah.
Um, you know, even when you're at the very top, like you can be making Breaking Bad and then the show's over and you're like, now what do I do before Better Call Saul? You're like, I don't know, I gotta figure it out. So, it's like
Yeah.
everyone's got the valley. And like you said, with Mike Shore's show, that was a sure thing that was
Yeah.
getting made. And then the plug got pulled on it and he was devastated. And
Yeah.
you would never think that could happen to somebody at that level, It's like,
No. Yeah.
no. So I think it's being able to ride the roller coaster of this business and keep your your head on, and not lose
Mm-hmm.
your mind when the ebbs come.
Yeah. I think that's good advice, and I think that's a good way to look at it. It is funny how like the finish line can change, can
Yeah.
keep moving on. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, this has been so great getting to know you and getting to talk to you.
You too. Thanks for having
Um,
me, Lisa.
I'm so excited to hear or to not hear because I always feel like sometimes like if it doesn't go through, then you don't ask questions.
True.
You just hopefully keep an eye out on the trades.
Yeah. Someday we'll see
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited for the possibilities for you. I'm sure that like if this one doesn't come through, the next thing is going to come through. So
And
it's
you
really
too.
exciting.
Just keep pushing.
I am. I need to spend more time writing.
Yeah. Yeah. Like write the thing you would like to see or that you would like to do yourself, right? It's like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've written that thing, and now I need to write the next thing. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yes, always.
Do you have anything that you want to plug or share where people can follow you?
I am Ilana in LA on Instagram. And I'm like, I don't have anything going on right now. I have no shows coming
Yeah,
up, but
yeah,
occasionally, if I'm doing shows, I'll post there the day
yeah,
of. Sometimes I'm the worst. Like, yeah, I'm promoting my show. It's tonight.
yeah,
But yeah, occasionally
yeah,
I do some stand up still, and
yeah. Yeah, go
yeah,
check out her Instagram. Go check out her YouTube. Like I know the videos are old, but there's the fourth period lunch. I was watching some of those episodes. That's still funny. It still holds up. So
I mean, I loved that show. We developed it with Absolutely, Tim and Eric's company.
yeah,
After we made it for Mondo, like that short version, and we were in development for like 2 years and, got really close at Netflix, got really close at HBO to make like an adult animated show. I think if we had some like celebrities attached, it would have gone, but
yeah,
it was just me and Christina Hayes. So
yeah. Well, it was funny.
I love
Nonetheless,
those characters. So
yeah,
we'll see someday.
yeah. Well, thank you, Ilana. Thank you for coming on. It was really great talking to you and getting to meet you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you all for listening to this week's episode. You can follow Ilana Cohn on Instagram at Ilana in LA and check out her website, ilanacohn.com. All of this is linked in the show notes as usual. If you're enjoying the show, please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. And share the show with your friends via Instagram, social media, whatever. Steal their phone and subscribe for them. Or maybe don't do that because that might just annoy them. But please do share the show with your friends. Word of mouth is the best marketing tool available. Be sure to follow the show on Instagram at makingitafter40, the number 40. And to catch up on what I'm doing when I'm not podcasting, check out my Instagram at Lisa Rodriguez. Thank you all for listening and have an excellent week.